The preceding program was brought to you in part by Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. It is actually State of Connecticut and Town of Clinton night tonight on the Pete Mezzetti Show. And to talk about what's going on with the state, what's going on with the town, is my buddy, State Representative, Town Councilman Chris Aniskovich.
Peter.
Christopher. Hi, buddy.
How are you?
Good. How are you? It's
Good.
been a while.
Yes, it has been a while.
It has
It's been so long, you got new digs here.
I know. It has been that long.
Very
but then
nice.
we got new digs.
See,
You like them?
you're looking good now.
Yeah,
See?
exactly.
Love it.
Looking professional.
Looks good.
Looking like-
Looks even better on you. See?
Looks like I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Stop it. Stop it. So what's going on? You want to start town or state? Pick one.
We could start at the town.
Okay.
I mean, there's always plenty going on at the town.
All right. Well, where should we start?
Well, I don't know. When's the last time I was here?
January.
So, but what's going on since January? Well, I guess the budget's
budget.
over, right? Budget's over. So, made it through the budget process. That was, it was okay. I mean, again, going through COVID, we were pretty much flat on our mill rate, which we, obviously did on purpose to try to make sure we were giving back to the people in the town, make sure that we're not raising their taxes significantly during a time when things were, pretty difficult for everybody financially. So coming out of that, obviously some things change, and you can't stay flat forever.
Nope.
So this cycle around, we had a small increase. It wasn't a large increase, but it was enough to kind of continue to keep us on the path that I think that we were heading in the right direction. A lot of stuff going on, but also making sure that the number for the people that live in the town, wasn't too painful for them to adhere to. So I think that, that worked out. First budget with the new town manager, so different kind of process that we went through.
Right.
Every time you have somebody new that comes in, they have a different process. We have a new finance director that was new as well. So I think everything overall went well. Some increases on some stuff in town. Overall, I think, though, going forward, we're going to have to obviously be a little bit more, frugal with what we do, because it's going to be hard. We're going to come up under another revaluation.
Reval?
So that's going to obviously have a pretty big impact as well on what happens to us going forward.
Right.
And the properties are still increasing in value. So unfortunately, for the people that own a home, you're getting a nice increase in your value, but also along with that comes an increase in taxes if the mill rate goes up.
Right.
So it's going to be hard. I mean, you're going to have to weigh, what we want to continue to offer to the people in town, but also making sure that we're not getting to a point where, our increases are, so much that it's burdening the people in town.
Right. Now, as far as I saw on the news last weekend that there was a fire in town?
There wasn't a fire. It was a controlled burn. It was a controlled burn.
Was that the old? Was it the old dump?
No, it was a company that was on I think it's Old Nod Road that they had a controlled burn. So they had stuff there that obviously they have to keep an eye on it. The fire department keeps an eye on it. Deep keeps an eye on it.
Yeah.
The air quality have to be tested when they do this. But it was a controlled burn.
Okay.
And a lot of people obviously didn't know about it before it happened. So there was a lot of talk about what was going on.
Let's put it this way: it made the news.
It made the news. It made a lot of news. Well, when you don't tell people what's happening up front, they get a little worried. So I think it's called GER. But they do. On site, a lot of those things become combustible.
Right.
So it becomes a problem, and there was, some smoke. So they were concerned, and they have to do it on a regular basis. So Town did a great job. State came in. They had you have to test the air quality to make sure that there's not an issue. So it wasn't a fire. It was a controlled burn.
Oh, okay.
That was a big controlled burn, though. It lasted for a while.
Yeah.
So it had a pretty big impact. If you went to social media, you'd hear about it. So, but it was fine. It was.
I turned on the Newsnet that night, and that was their lead story.
Right.
I'm like,
the town's burning down. No, we're still standing strong. We're good.
We're still here.
We're all good. No more fires.
No, absolutely not. Hey, one thing I want to mention regarding your district and the town of Westbrook, the absolutely wonderful job that they did on the mural.
Yes, they actually had
awesome.
Yep, they did a great job. I went there for the groundbreaking when they did that. And it's important. I think that things like that do attract people. Things like that, show that there's interest in the town, and it gets people involved.
Right.
The more people that get involved and do things, that could be the baby steps that people need to get more involved in the town. Smaller towns like, Killingworth, Westbrook, and Clinton are small towns.
Right.
Right. And you want to get more people involved, and locally, you want people to see that things are happening in your town, and you want to get people motivated to get involved, because a lot of times it's hard to get people to come out and, want to be elected to certain positions. And it's a lot of work, but it's fruitful work, and it's good work for the people that enjoy doing it. I mean, I love doing it. I love doing the town work. I love doing the state work. And I'll do it as long as, until they kick me out, because I enjoy doing it. I like to be involved. I like helping out, volunteering, and those are important things for smaller communities. And it gives you, a sense of camaraderie amongst your town. And I think that's important as well, where people know that you're always there to help each other. Right.
Now, as far as economic development, what's going on in the town of Clinton?
Wow, there's a lot. So Big Y, so the shops at Big Y, obviously, they know that there's been some talk about there's a Panera coming in there.
Okay.
There's going to be a Minute Clinic that's going in there.
Okay.
So there's still some stuff that's working through planning and zoning, so that they're going to get some, I don't know if they need some exceptions or what they need to do, but Big Y is going to hopefully start expanding very soon on that.
All right.
Which is important. I think we need more eateries in town.
Right.
For the people that live here.
Yes.
It's important, just as important for the people that come in the summers, because we blow up in the summer to 23,000 people.
Right.
But when everybody's off and gone, we lose a lot of the restaurants because they don't stay open year round.
Exactly.
So that's important to us here. And I think it's just an overall, generally speaking, it's good to continue to build that out, because it helps our tax base. The more, development that can come in, that's controlled development. I know people get nervous about certain things, but I'm a big supporter of controlled development, to making sure that, we're doing it in a way where it's beneficial to our town. Helps people that when they come into town, that there's things for them to do.
Right.
I think the Big Y is important because of its location next to the Clinton Crossing outlets.
Right.
And I think that'll be helpful. And it's going to be in an area where, people are always concerned about traffic, and unfortunately there was another accident there today over at the Big Y.
Oh, was there?
Plaza coming out, and it's, people get concerned about that, but it's, I think, overall, the development is good for our town.
And from what I hear, and I don't know if this is rumor, truth, or hearsay.
Uh-oh. Is this a game?
Yeah. Over by Walgreens.
Oh,
Clinton.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah?
it's true.
Is it?
Well, there's a, they're in front of planning zoning, so they've,
Okay.
They put something into planning zoning for an Aldi. And believe it or not, there's also a fast food chain restaurant that, with a drive-through to be possibly over there.
Which one?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Can't be telling anybody that.
All right.
And actually, Big Y also, I guess the Chase Bank is going to go in. I think that's one of the other things. Yeah. So Chase Bank and Panera over there, which is sort of kind of a unique dynamic, but that's sort of, when you look around, you see that that's happening more.
Right.
But Aldi did put in, I guess, in some paperwork with the Planning and Zoning Commission that they're reviewing.
Okay.
And again, so that's the talk. That we're the worldwide leader in grocery stores, apparently.
So we're gonna have 4 stores in the
I mean, and people get upset about it, right? So people talk about it, and I think that the owners of these franchises and these companies do their due diligence. They can see that they're not going to build and put in a store where it's not going to be successful.
No.
Their job isn't to open up a store that will be closed in 6 months because it can't sustain itself. So I think what they're what they do, what they have, what people go there for is different than what maybe some of the other stores have. And I think the locations of those stores within our town, ShopRite is more so on the Westbrook line.
Right.
Killingworth, Big Y, you bring down people from Killingworth.
Right.
Stop and Shop, is central location there. So, listen, for me personally, the more development that, people would like to bring in, obviously the better for our tax base, which is the important thing. I think with the, the revaluations and people being concerned about taxes, it's what you have to weigh on a local level, which is hard, because people are, some people do get concerned, worried. As soon as something goes up and says we're going to have this in Clinton, social media lights up.
Of course.
Well, we need this, we need that, and unfortunately, people still want Trader Joe's where Big Y is. So I don't understand that Big Y's there. So I
Big
think
Y's there already.
It's been there. Should have had a Trader Joe's. Well,
no.
But they do their due diligence, and it's the same thing. So, I think we're doing good on that in that space to make sure that we're bringing some things in. But again, the bottom line is developers are coming to Clinton, right? So we have the spaces available to do some of this stuff, and they're coming here and they're looking at our town and making sure that they're coming to a place where they'll be successful. And that's, I think, a good thing for our town is to understand that they're going to be successful here, and our town is part of that. We have a lot of development as far as housing goes. That's a big story. We'll, I guess, talk about that in the next part when it's state level. But we have the development that's going up next to across the street from the police station. So those are being constructed now. So those are good. Okay. And again, down the road, we still have ponds that's still in an area where who knows what'll happen down there. But there's supposed to be some more housing development there. The difficult thing that people sometimes have a hard time understanding is the fact that these are private, developments.
Right.
And when you have a private development, it's a for-profit development. So unfortunately, the builders, not necessarily going to be offering a lot of affordable housing. So that's sort of the struggle. And, it's hard to make sure that we bring in some affordable housing, projects so that people can live here. Pearson School's still moving forward.
Okay.
So, that's still something that's there that's been purchased by a nonprofit. Hope, purchased that property, and they'll be doing senior housing there.
Yeah.
So, that's a good start there. But overall, the housing that we bring in isn't, you want it to be affordable, but unfortunately, the struggle is that the people that are building these properties and developments are paying more to build these. Right. So at the end of the day, they're going to have to, charge rents that are going to be sustainable to continue to be profitable. Unfortunately, for-profit developments are there for profit. But, again, I think, the continued development of, bringing those units into our town will be helpful.
Okay. And as far as, a couple weeks ago, we had the end of summer festival.
We did. We had the fireworks.
Yes. I know.
Yes, a great event. Love it.
Yeah,
important for the town. It's great. Brings a lot of out of town people into the town so they can see what we have here. Just a little bit different this year. Obviously there's some issues that we're having internally at the town with the chamber. Nothing we'll discuss, but it was important that the town, I think, stepped in. Obviously, I supported the fact that the town comes in and did that and took that event over.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it was important for us to continue it. What will happen in the future, is something that, we'll figure out going forward. But there's a lot of bumps in the road, but it was something that the town took on late in the game. And, unfortunately, there were some things out there that I think that people missed. Kids events, things for the kids to do. Give them something to do, during the day that, kind of expanded kind of the use of what the day was all about. So hopefully next year we can get back to that and continue, the path of what we've done for the last 7 years. It's been an important part of our town for 7 years.
It has been.
I think it's great for the town. It's great, for us to bring, these out-of-town people into our community and see what we have to offer. So, we're going to continue to do, what we can in order, to grow the town. The struggle that we always have in town, and I think on the council, that we, don't lose sight of, but we kind of, we talk about what we would like to see in town, which is important because you need a vision of what you would like in your town. But unfortunately, if we don't own the properties that are downtown, and we don't own the buildings, within which, we can develop, it's hard.
Right.
You know, because the developer, or I'm sorry, you know, business owner is different than the property owner.
Yes.
So property owner owns the building, you know, at the end of the day, what are they going to want? They're just going to want to make sure that they have a unit rented.
Right.
So determining and working with them to say, hey, this is what we'd like to see, you know, sometimes I think that's a difficult way to get things done, but we have to continue that. So EDC's had a lot of people come and go. So I think we have, you know, some new members on there. Restructuring of that I think will be important. We hired an EDC consultant for a period of time.
Oh yeah.
Dale Krupp, to come in and kind of look at what's there. But again, it's the same. You know, we don't own the buildings.
Right.
So if somebody moves out, we can talk to people about coming in and doing that. But you know, we're not a big town. You know, I love our little town. I love the fact that we have. I mean, I love living there. I love everything about Clinton. You know, proximity to the shoreline. You know what we have to offer. But it's hard because you have people, you know, these property owners that may not be, you know, as willing to do what we would like them to do. You know, we offered a facade program for a long period of time.
That's right.
And, you know, I think, you know, Granite Beach, you know, took that over.
Yeah.
But another great thing for them is they bought the Comcast building.
Yes, they did.
So
that's right.
We had an event there a couple months ago for, you know, just business-wise. But they did. They'll be working on putting that, you know, building into very, very good use.
Yeah.
They're going to increase the number of tables they're going to have. They're going to have a bar, so it's going to work out well. But again, those are the things that, you know, at the end of the day, that we love for our town, because we're going to be able to use and support that year round, and I think it's important. So it's good to see that building will be in use, and unfortunately, we'll have now a vacant one, so we'll see what moves in there. But it's hard, you know. I mean, it's hard to, you know, we bring in a lot of people in the summer, and then, you know, off summer we're 13,000 people.
Right.
So what kind of businesses are we going to be able to attract that, you know, are going to feel that they can support what kind of business they bring in there? Right. So EDC wise and the economic development of our community, you know, that plays a lot into it, I think, because yes, there's things that we would like to see, but will somebody be willing to bring that in just because of, can they support that business? Mm-hmm. So like where it's headed, I mean, I think we're all working together and trying to do the best we can for our community and our town, and bringing in new businesses is important. Building up our tax base is even more important. Right. You know, so I think that sort of thing would be more so at the Big Y Plaza, where you're going to have, you know, some bigger businesses that are going to come in. We lost the mattress place, obviously, because they went bankrupt, so we lost that. Yeah. But the other thing that I felt was kind of important was a franchise like Jersey Mike's that came to our town.
Yes.
You know, so that's a national franchise.
It is.
You know, and they felt it was, you know, it was warranted to come to Clinton, because we can support, you know, that franchise. So those are things that make you realize that, you know what, you know, we're doing okay here, and we just have to continue that and make sure that, you know, the people in here are supported, and, you know, we hear their voices about what they do and don't want. You know, the Henry on Main. Yeah, how's that going? NOLA. I mean, it's, you know, that's another thing that kind of is bringing people into the community and help, you know, get people out. You know, and I think the NOLA, the business that's inside of there, you know, I think it'd be, you know, beneficial to them when we have something there that can help generate some people to come in through the door. So, you know, just more things that you see, and I guess that's something more locally wise that people will utilize. You know, when you want to go in for a cup of coffee or an egg sandwich or whatever it may be, you know, you have that there right here in our community now, which is what used to be the old Malone's. So we came full circle. That's right. Right. That's what. So that's what I remember it as. So do you? Yes, exactly. So it was good. So I mean, it's, you know, so it's important that, you know, we do some of these things because it benefits the people that live in our town. Absolutely. Yeah. And as far as other items going on in town, what else do we do? We've done so much. Well, we've got new pickleball courts, right? We do? Yeah, so up at IROC next to the Park and Rec. Oh, okay. We have 3 new pickleball courts. Yeah, so that was a big thing that we, it was, during the COVID, you know, years, we got money in order to do some stuff. Park and Rec had some money to kind of do some stuff. Yep. You know, we had the basketball court up there, which a lot of people were kind of worried about getting rid of the basketball court. We put in a new court down at the town beach, but you know, the best place, ultimately at the end of the day, the best place for us to put the pickleball courts was up at IROC, where the old basketball courts were. Okay. I mean, great, it really is. I mean, it's used regularly, every day there's people up there. So, you know, just something else that we could provide to the people that live in our town that were interested in having that. And so we listened to them, unfortunately you hear about, the basketball kids, which is important as well. I mean, right. We need to provide more for our children and for our kids to get out and do stuff instead of just sitting on their phones.
Exactly. So do you know how to play pickleball?
I'm not going to lie, I do not yet, but friends of mine go every Tuesday, and we will be attending tomorrow's event at Tuesday at IROC. So don't show up because
I don't know how to play, so.
It might be embarrassing. I might be getting hit in the head. But I'm going to give it a go.
All right.
Going to give it a go.
I have not learned how to play yet, so maybe one
either.
Of these.
We'll see what happens.
Maybe
hopefully I won't get hurt.
Maybe one of these days.
Yes.
What's going on in your other towns in your district? What's going on in Westbrook?
Yeah, I mean, they went through the same thing, budgeting process that they've gone through. A lot of the stuff going on over there, they're doing, the projects I think that they're working on now mostly are, and they're having some of the same issues that we have obviously in Clinton, or a lot of the sidewalk projects, getting a lot of funding for doing that, which is very important. I think the walkability is important. So they spent a lot of money on that. I know they're working on a project within the Triangle over by the fire department for sewers, which is the same sort of thing that we're working with and working on in Clinton. And they're under the same, consent order by the state as we are in Clinton, as far as the sewers go. And so I've talked to John Hall, the first selectman, and they're doing what they can. They're doing their due diligence, trying to put together, some sort of plan as far as what they can do. Ultimately, it's cost, and that's the problem, because it's the same thing for us in Clinton, where we're trying to put sewers in, we're trying to do, WPCC is doing a lot of work to try to see what we can do and how to get that downtown. But ultimately, at the end of the day, are those sewers that we bring into town going to be, what benefit do they bring for the businesses, right? And what happens is we don't own the business. No. So the way I look at it is they say, well, it's going to help the business expand, they can do more. But the problem is that the business, the property owner has to do that as well. So you have to have sort of a commitment from a property owner to spend quite a bit of money in order to maybe, let's say, put 2 apartments above, their property so they can rent them, so they can have more, rentals that we have downtown, or upgrade, the facade of a property. It's the same thing. Right. So it's all about the funding. It's all about the money. I mean, do I think, sewers are important in our town? Yeah, I mean, there's areas that it needs to be done. Right. But if we do one area, the consent order still stands in place. It's not going to go away unless we kind of target all 4 areas. Okay. So we have a lot in our area there, but Westbrook is doing that. They're looking at that, and it's a lot of money. And you have to, obviously going to go to the town, you're going to bond it, it's going to have a debt service payment, it's going to have, a tax consequence to the people that live in your town. Killingworth's, they're doing their thing up there. They, small community that does a lot of good work. So, Parmalee Farm is always a huge benefit up there and have a ton of events during the summer. The concerts that they do up there, they do the Coast Guard Auxiliary concert is unbelievable. So, there's a lot of good events that happen up there in the fall because of, their environment up there with Parmalee Farm and the other events that they have. So, I love getting out to the communities, love getting out. I mean, now's been the time that, I love to go to the schools and you see the kids smiling and, went to the Vista graduation again this year.
Yeah, I saw your picture in the paper.
Unbelievable. Love that event. Love the event because it's a great event because these kids are so, they should be so proud of themselves for what they've done. They went through a program and now they're going on their own. They're going to live, life on their own and just the joy that you see on their faces and the smiles, and it's a great event to go to. So.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Helen Bosch retire?
She did.
Okay.
She retired. She's gone in in October.
Okay.
But one of the other things that was important too, I was able to secure a grant for $500,000 for Vista Life.
Really?
So that was last session. Okay. First session that I was there. So we were able to get $500,000 because they needed to redo the outside decking around the building. So that's going to get started in September. So that will be happening, but
nice.
Yeah. Then those are the things that, that's what I love doing. You go out and you kind of help and you make, you do a lot of hard work in order to get these things done, and it, it's good to see people doing it.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I saw your picture in the paper the other day for the first day of school.
I was.
I know. Yeah,
we were at Daisy.
You were,
yeah.
with one of my other favorite state representatives.
Devin Carney.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So that was good. Again, those are the things that, you do the job and you go up there and it's a lot of hard work and, it gets aggravating, gets frustrating sometimes, but at the end of the day, you work through everything. I consider myself extremely lucky to be on the House side. We work together very well. There's a lot of great people no matter, what side of the aisle you're on. I enjoy being being up there. I enjoy being a moderate. I enjoy being in the middle of the road and working with other people. And unfortunately, I think that's where we need to head. I think we've gotten away from a lot of the work that we need to do. The work that we need to do is work that we need to do together. Things get done easier and quicker if you work together. If you have support on both sides of the aisle, that you're working together. When you fight about it, when you argue, when you finger point, when it gets nothing done. So it's important that we work together. That's the motto I've always taken up there. I'll continue to take it up there, and it's the same that it should be locally. Unfortunately, we do a lot of bickering, we do a lot of fighting, we do a lot of finger pointing, we do a lot of stuff that just doesn't need to happen anymore. And I think that we need to get back to where we were in the past and get people to drive in the center lane as opposed to driving on the outskirts, and work together. Exactly. Because it's going to get things done if we work together.
Exactly. Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Would love to.
All right, we'll be right back.
Excellent.
Shoppers depend on customer reviews to make the right decisions, but as sellers continually find new ways to craft fake reviews and hire thousands of people to post them, getting rid of every fake review quickly is nearly impossible. Look out for generic reviewer profiles. If a reviewer has a very common or generic name, you've spotted a red flag. Read reviews by customers with verified purchases, meaning the reviewer bought the product on the same site where they wrote the review. Examine the quality and timing of product reviews. If you notice a product has several 5-star or 1-star reviews with just a word or two in the written portion of the review, or if the reviews use language that is generic, studded with irrelevant details, or overly enthusiastic, you may be looking at a fake review. This is especially true if you notice multiple similar reviews posted during a short window of time. The rise of generative AI has made it much easier to post fake reviews and harder for customers to spot them. So it's a good idea to check multiple websites and compare reviews of an item or service. If you spot a scam, report it to BBB Scam Tracker. That's bbb.org/scam tracker.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, and sitting here with State Representative Chris Aniskovich.
What? See? Nothing.
Welcome back.
Hey, good to be back.
How's it going?
It's going great now.
Excellent. All right, so we talked about the state side, the town side in segment 1. Let's talk about what's going on up at the state.
Okay.
Okay? Excellent. What's going on? What happened?
What happened?
A lot happened.
Well,
a lot happened.
A lot didn't happen. I mean, it was budget season, so
yeah.
Same thing with the budget, with the state budget, and again, it's bigger than. It's basically the same thing we do on the town side, except it's bigger with the bigger numbers and more zeros. I think we have a lot of surplus in the state, so there's a lot of money up there that we have. The topic, as always, is always the electric bills and the public benefits charge, and we spend a lot of time talking about that and what are the best ways to do it. And the Republican caucus had their own budget that they put forth, which is normal. I mean, it's sort of what we do, and it's just, you hope that at the end of the day we can all work together and try to come to, something that is agreeable to everybody, and it just doesn't always work. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars, so I think the town is in a good place financially. The guardrails that we set in place in 2017. To help get us where we are now are things that we need to stick to, but the roundabouts that they went in order to kind of get around those and some of the the revenue spending and such is a problem. I think we need to make sure that we stick to that, and we make sure that what we're doing is in the best interest of the taxpayers of our state. And I think it's hard no matter what way you look at it, because you're going to have people that support certain things and people that don't support certain things.
Exactly.
My opinion from the beginning is, we should be giving back to the residents of our state, right? We should be taking into consideration the homelessness and the VA and some of these people that need our help now. Homelessness is a huge problem in our state, right? Mental health issues, people that need the help. These are things that we need to look at, and I think we need to kind of spend more money down those paths to make sure that we're doing what we can in order to help as many people as we can. So the budget was a big thing. There's a couple of bills that obviously, and I'm sure a lot of people heard about. We had the big housing bill, which is bill number 5002, which ultimately the governor vetoed. And I'm glad he vetoed it. because I think it needed more work before we got it to where more people are comfortable with it. Not everybody's going to be comfortable with it. I've run since the day I've run for state rep is that local control. I think our communities need control over what does and doesn't happen in our communities because we know best, right? So we have an elected body of planning and zoning, and these elected bodies should be the ones that make those decisions in the towns that we live in. And I think this bill took too many steps to kind of bypass that. And to make sure that, and again, the struggle is that I understand is, we're talking about affordable housing.
Yes.
Right? And I understand that. But again, allowing a developer to come in and build a property, but mandating that maybe 30% of his units are there for affordable housing is still not going to solve our problem. So, how do we solve the problem? I don't have that answer.
No.
Right? But I think there needs to be more people sitting at a table to have a discussion about how we do it.
Right.
I mean, I think this bill was unfortunately a majority bill that didn't really have any input from the other side of the aisle. And I think that's wrong. I think we need to talk more together about what sort of, things that we can do in order to make a bill that's a bipartisan bill that would keep everybody happy.
Right.
Well, not everybody happy. That's not going to happen. We're not going to keep everybody happy, but keep make sure that we're doing something that's going to work for everybody.
Gotcha.
So this was more of a one size fits all, and I don't think, for the smaller communities, the struggle that I had with the bill and I voted no was that we lost local control. So in some cases, you would be able to bypass local zoning laws and build something. So it didn't take into consideration parking. So you could bypass parking and build something and not even have enough parking spaces for the property you built. Some of the other things, we're taking away public hearings. So bypassing planning and zoning approvals, also not requiring a public hearing. That I have a problem with because, again, local control, the public needs to be involved in those decisions of what happens. They are the taxpayers in that community, as well as taxpayers in the state, but they should have a say in kind of what goes on. Right. And my feeling is we should be hearing from those people. And there's no harm in hearing from them. No. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to be able to have people talk. We need to hear from them, good or bad. I mean, the one thing that I think most people can understand about me, I don't care what party you're from, I don't care if you're yelling, screaming, at me, I don't care, you will get a response. You will get a response from me because it's important that I was elected to do a job. My job is to make sure that I'm there for the people in the community, no matter what party you're from.
Exactly.
And so that, I'll answer those questions that people have. And, those are sometimes hard answers to give because unfortunately the decisions are made, right? And, the struggle is just making sure that we kind of come up with a plan that's going to sort of help the affordable housing problem that we have in this state.
Yep. I
just don't know, because unfortunately now building new units, unless you're willing to build units that you're going to take, affordable rents, which is a certain percentage of the AMI, which is a weighted average. If you're a private developer, how are you going to survive? How are you going to make any money?
Right. It's
costing more to build these properties because the cost of goods are going up, obviously, like most things. But so it's a struggle. But again, the governor vetoed the bill, and I think we're talking about going into special session at the beginning of October. To discuss it, and I don't know what's happened. We haven't had any of those discussions yet, so right now we're kind of in the dark about what they've kind of changed or adjusted in order to bring it back to the table to see if it's something that we can work with, and hopefully we can.
Yeah.
And that was one of two bills that the governor actually vetoed. He also vetoed the other bill that we pay striking workers, so that was also vetoed. Striking union workers, if they go on strike, there was a bill that passed that said that we should be paying those striking workers. Another bill that kind of hard to understand, but it passed by the majority and it was vetoed by the governor, so that'll, I'm assuming, come back up as well.
Sort of like one was it Pratt and Whitney that went on?
Well, I mean, it's just in general, if you go on strike, that you would that the state would pay those workers after 2 weeks. So it's hard. I think it defeats the purpose of going on strike. If the state's going to pay those workers in order to be on strike, why do it? You really don't have much energy to put into resolving an issue if you're still going to get paid. So I'm glad, and again, I mean, I think the governor's made some good decisions there. And again, it's, if you're moderate and you're in the middle and you kind of look at things common sense wise and logically, it works better. Right. So, hopefully, we're going to special session. We'll talk about those in October. And we'll be back in session, full session in February. So it's a short session. This is a good time because this is one of the first times I don't have to run locally or at a state level. So I have a year off.
What do you mean?
I don't have to run. I don't have to run for the town council. I don't have to run for state rep. Next year. Yeah, 2026.
Okay.
So this year I'm off. I get a little free time. Yeah, free time this year.
Free time this year, but then you get both.
Well, next year it'll be the state rep seat, and then the year after would be the town council again.
Oh, okay. They're not in the same year. Got it.
Not now.
Okay.
So, but other than that, the state stuff is, it's hard work. You get, you want to make sure that what you're doing and what your votes are doing are in the best interest of the people that you're representing.
Right.
And I mean, I don't, I represent a party, yep, but I represent the people of the 35th district, and
exactly.
I vote that way, and I'll continue to vote that way. I won't vote because, it's easy to be the majority, right. Unfortunately, right? You just, party line vote. You get very few people that vote outside of that box. On our side, which I quite honestly I like. I like the fact that I can vote, and I'm going to, vote in a way that I feel is there for the people of the district. And it's not going to please them all, and I'm very aware of that. I'm aware that, right. Not everybody's going to be happy with some of the votes that I put out there, but I certainly will have an explanation on why I voted a certain way, and I'll certainly be able to, talk to anybody about it and have them understand my reasoning for that. And that's all you want. As an elected official that has multiple, towns in a district, you need to be able to just explain your vote. And my explanation will never be because I'm from a certain party. Right. My explanation will be why I personally voted for that and why I feel that would be in the best interest of the constituents of my district.
Right. And as far as your district goes, mm-hmm. out of all three of the towns you represent, which is the biggest?
Clinton.
Clinton?
Yeah, Clinton's the biggest. Yeah, but it's fine. But I mean, and that's the other thing. So I mean, one of the best things that I've been able to do as well is, so one of my committees is the Commerce Committee. So right. up in Hartford, I serve on banking, general law, and commerce.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough this past session to be elected as a leader of the Commerce Committee, which is important. I think when I got in, it was always, I knew that the district that I represent are a lot of small businesses, mm-hmm. and the Commerce Committee is there to kind of, guide that through and make sure people understand that we're there to help, yes. Facilitate, good things that happen in our communities. And as a leader and having more of a say on the Commerce Committee and be involved in discussions that are very important on the bills that we put forth. Mm-hmm. The process of, obviously last session we had over 3,000 bills. Right. That come forth. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you get to 300 that you vote on, but this session really wasn't, I don't think we even made it to that many.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was, it's difficult because there's things that you're passionate about that you want to bring forward. And it's good for me personally. I enjoy the fact that I have a bigger say in kind of what we're discussing, and I can bring to that committee kind of what goes on in my district, right? And our district is a lot of mom and pops, a lot of, we don't have a lot of franchises, in Killingworth, Clinton, and Westbrook. No. Right? Westbrook doesn't even have a grocery store. No. Right? Killingworth doesn't have a grocery store. No. So it's all small businesses, and that's important to support those and to do what we can. I'll give a little plug to the Italian store, right, in Clinton, right? I mean, he was there, 3 years ago I went in there and stopped in when he came in, and he was worried about being open for the next year. 3 years later, he's still going strong. And I mean, that's what you need to do, and we need to support those businesses. And, there's a lot of new stuff opening up in Killingworth. There's a lot of development going up across from where where the subway is, TD Bank. So the development across the street, there's a lot of... By the Copper Skillet, yep. So you have, James Madison House out in Madison took over some of those buildings there, and they're trying to put in some units over there. Okay. The old cooking company. Yep. So they're developing a lot of stuff over there, and that's what you need. But those are small businesses. Those are mom and pop shops that are doing what they do to work their butt off to get these things done. And I'm friends with the James Madison's House, the owners over there, and they're great people, and they're doing the work themselves. And they're doing everything they can to get these things open as quickly as they can. So, in our communities, we go out and we support those. I mean, that's what we need to do, because that's, we want to keep them around, and that's the fiber of these communities, right? I mean, everybody, the smaller communities that don't have the bigger franchises or things out there, it's even more important because you want these businesses to go there. You want people to be able to have certain things there. So, I mean, like Robert's Foods left Madison, right?
Yes,
I mean, so
right.
a lot of the people in Killingworth lost out on that. So now what? So
Now where do you go grocery shopping?
right. Well, they go to Big Y.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but it's tough. It's, I mean, again, the economic development in communities like that is hard because they don't have the space, necessarily to do that. So, they, struggle with kind of what they bring forth. And it's hard, but you have to support them. And at the state level, I think we need to do more, to support that. And in order for them to know that we, have some backing and some, funding, some grants, some monies that we can put forth to small businesses. We did it during COVID. We gave back a lot during COVID, which is understandable. But I think that a lot of these small companies survived during COVID because we did do that.
Right.
So as a state, I think we can do more to offer more, grant funding to these small businesses that, need that help. And it's not a lot of money, but it's just something to, keep them moving, and making sure that they want to continue to do what they love. These people do it because they love what they do.
Exactly.
They open these small, whether it's a pizza shop or a sub shop or whatever it may be, right? A bakery. They do it because they love it.
Exactly.
And I think as a state, we can do more in order to support them. By offering some funding that makes it available. I know we do it, and we do a lot of it, but I mean, I think there's more that we can do. We're in a good place financially, and sometimes the smaller towns, and they get lost. We get lost in the shuffle because we're not the big city.
Exactly.
Which I don't want to be. I love where I am, and I love representing what I represent. But I think you get some good, hardworking people there that want to continue to operate their businesses in their communities. And let's see what we can do to help.
Right. Now, when you were up in session last year, and all of the 3 committees that you were on, what are some of the bills that you introduced?
I really
Not all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Just give me a couple.
So it's like I don't really introduce many bills. There's things that some of the things that I did. One of the bills that I introduced was a bill that was for the people up in Killingworth, which was, for my side probably a little bit, normally not what my party is normally does.
Okay.
But to me it didn't matter because it was my district. So I was working on a bill that was bringing some lot fee limits, lot fee increases. So not rental increases, but lot fees. So it had to do with the community up at Beechwood up in Killingworth.
Sure.
It's a 55 plus community, right? You're retired, a lot of people are retired, a lot of people sold their house to move there, they're living there. A lot of people have, their houses paid off. And some of the lot increases from companies that were coming in were growing year after year, and it was making some people unaffordable for them to live in those units anymore. So there was some legislation, a lot of heated debate, a lot of discussion. As fact of, they're worrying about it being a rent, like a rent increase.
Right.
And that's really not really what it was. It was more so for the lots because they don't own the land that they live on. So they own the property, they don't own the land, so there was lot fees. So that was a bill that I was kind of part of and supported. May not have been something my party liked me to support, but I didn't care. And
Right.
and again, that's how I am. I mean, I've said it from the beginning, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Right.
I'll do what is in the best interest of the people of my community. When I go up to Beechwood and I talk to the residents there, I tell them I will support something that if it will benefit you. Because again, the higher the lot fees go up, then the less that they're going to be able to sell their property for if they need to.
Right.
And you hear from people, they're retired, they don't have any family, they have no place to go. So if they, needed to sell their unit because they couldn't afford the lot fees and taxes and everything else anymore, they would have no place to go. So that was, something that, was a heated discussion up there. And at the end of the day, the bill, was kind of a watered down bill that got through. That I'm sure we'll come back and they'll have more discussions about. And it's happened at a lot of more of the communities throughout the state because there's more and more of those mobile home park communities,
Right.
manufactured home communities throughout the state. So heated discussion, absolutely. But I think it's good to have those discussions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's good to have people understand kind of what you were, what you're doing and what the thinking was. What my thinking was always, saying to the leaders in my party, and listen, it's in my district. So I will support it because, I've told the constituents in that town that I will support it. But again, other than, some of the bills that you kind of, you look at, I supported a bill that was, some work that we would do on, in Old Saybrook, the tragedy that they had out there on the boating accident that
Yes.
a couple of years that were, lighting up the jetties
Yep.
and putting some lights on it. Myself and Devin Carney, even though, not my district, I obviously was on the shoreline. It was important to me to kind of support that, and we'd send some letters out and got some support for that. And so glad that, that happened. But there's, a lot of the bills that, we have to work towards, I think relate to a lot around mental health and monies that we need to put towards there. I think it's a big issue. I think it's, even coming out of COVID, you still hear it. When you hear it in the schools, you hear it from educators, that there's a lot of money that we need to start putting back into that. So hopefully we'll, talk some more about that. Nonprofits, I think, again, got some funding, but I think we need to kind of look at which ones, are important that we do fund so that we're supporting the right things. We're supporting the people that we can help. So, those kind of bills are important to me. But, I like co-sponsoring bills that I feel are important to the community that I represent. Right. So that will, I'll continue to do that as we go forward.
Now, as far as session goes for 2026, it's just a short session. It's February to
May.
Okay, I was going to say June, but okay.
Hey. When they say short, they mean short.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, the short session always falls in the same time that you're running for
Right.
re-election. So, they know the kind of work that you need to put in when you run for re-election. So, and the short session is, a lot of we don't have as many bills, that's why. So
Right.
the bills, any proposed bills or any proposed legislation is normally related to the budget on things that you want to bring forth. If there's bills that you would like to bring forth, you basically would have to go directly to leadership on the committee and have them to kind of see if there's something that they would bring forth, and then have the opportunity to do that. So it's less crazy at the end of session, but crazy nonetheless, because we're still up there working, and
Right.
there's still the same amount of work that we did the previous year. So. I love being up there. It's exciting when you go up there, it really is. So it's good to, the longer that you're there, the more people that you kind of, work with better, and who you're working with. They're supporting a lot of lobbyists, obviously.
Yep.
That want your vote on certain things, and you just have to make sure who you commit to. The one thing that I learned from day one is never commit. Because you're basically you never know what's going to happen. The bills are, and that's the thing, because what people kind of need to understand is the bills that are put forth always have other little things.
Okay.
Right. So the budget has an implementer, which is part of the budget, but basically are laws that get put into effect without having a public hearing, because the majority can put these pieces of legislation into the budget that are called implementers.
Okay.
And basically what it is it's bills that didn't get a public hearing normally, and they're put as part of the budget, and that's what we're voting on. I mean, who's ever in the majority does the same thing, so it's not unusual. But there's not much you can do with that. So that's why it makes, at a state level, a vote on a budget is very difficult.
Yep.
Because you're going to vote, I voted against this budget because I didn't think it did enough.
Right.
I think it exceeded the guardrails that we had set in place in 2017. And I think that those guardrails are in place to make sure that we continue the path that we are continuing on, which is very successful. We're paying down debt, we're paying down pension funding, and that's what's making us, the viable state that we are right now with our surplus and with the rainy day fund. I mean, we have a rainy day fund of over $4 billion. So, we're doing well, but we're doing well because of the guardrails. Right. So, you want to be able to make sure that you're going to support a budget that you feel is in the best interest of everybody. And a lot of the things that we put in place, I mean, we didn't talk about it, but on, like on the town level, we have, the speeding cameras now.
Yeah, well,
right?
let's talk about it.
I mean, I voted yes for speeding cameras in Hartford. Okay. And I voted yes because, for me personally, it was an opt-in or opt-out option on the towns. So, and the difficult thing is when you also serve on the town, you got to weigh two different votes.
Right.
So my vote up there was because it can be an opt-in, can be an opt-out, up to the towns. One of the major concerns I had with the bill, and I brought it up in the town level, which we're going through that now in Clinton, is the ticket goes to the person whose license plate gets read. Okay. So somebody else could be driving your car, right? Gets a speeding ticket, but it goes to the person who owns the car. So that person may not have been the one driving the car. But it doesn't matter, you got to pay the ticket.
Okay.
So, the side to that is that, well, you can dispute and you can request a hearing. But the hearing only labels statutorily 6 items, which I don't know the 6 total of all of them already, but there's 6 items that you can request a hearing for, and that's it. Most of them emergency vehicle related, because obviously you can, if you go through in your emergency vehicle, you have the right to go through it.
Right.
So on a town level, me personally, how I look at this as sort of an untaxed tax. You didn't label it as a tax, but it could generate the municipalities a lot of money.
Right.
And I think it's a tough vote locally. Haven't really decided on what I'll do that way, but we're going to have a public hearing in Clinton on that. But at state level, I didn't see an issue with it because it gives the towns the opportunity to make that decision, local control. Right. So I support local control. If it was a mandate, I'd be a hard no.
Right.
Right. But I was a yes because it was something that gave back the responsibility to that decision making to the town.
Absolutely. Now, as far as the town goes, how did early voting go?
People loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was great. I think it's a great opportunity to make sure we get more people out to vote. Listen, it was changed statutorily, so that's where we are. That's what we're going to do.
Right.
Personally, I think the length of it needs to kind of maybe be brought back a little bit, because I think the unforeseen circumstances of this constitutional change is that the smaller towns that were, the affordability of running that.
Right.
So you got to get a registrar that's going to be available. You also have to get people that are available all those days.
Yes.
Right. So you got the cost of it, the new machines. So there's a lot of cost overruns that are going to exist, and I don't think we gave back enough to the municipalities in order to cover those costs. So there were some monies that were given back, but and again, I don't think we need 14 days. I think 10 days was sufficient. And I think Secretary of State said the same thing. She agreed that 10 days is what she recommended, but unfortunately, legislatively, we decided 14. I don't,
Somebody decided.
Somebody said, let's do 14, let's do 14.
Okay.
But either way, there's nothing you can do about it, right? So, didn't matter, it was going to happen. And I think I think my vote was a no because of the 14. I thought 10 days was plenty. I think it was a great opportunity to get more people to vote. I think it allows more people, elderly people and such, to get out and vote earlier, not have to deal with the lines that we do have. But again, in small towns, we don't normally have the big lines of voting other than presidential elections. So, unfortunately, I wish we'd have 8,000 people come out and vote all the time. But, we don't in Clinton. We have, for municipalities, probably half of that. But hopefully this time around, people are going to get more involved. We need more people to get out and vote. We need their vote heard. We need to make sure that if people want to complain all you want. Right. But when I ask you, did you vote? If you say no, then don't complain.
Exactly.
Right? Because you had the opportunity to make a change, and that's your entitlement. It's your opportunity to have your voice heard. People think sometimes, well, it doesn't matter. Well, you can't really say that because you don't know. Because let's say, if everybody has that same attitude, then nothing's going to change.
Right.
So your vote is an important thing, and you should make sure that you take advantage of that vote.
And for election day for last year for the presidential, I actually worked election day. I
remember seeing you.
An elections official inside it, and I'm like, it really wasn't that bad. And my mom was like, that's because everybody voted early. Everybody voted early, right. So she's like, if they didn't vote early, this place would have been a zoo.
Right, because we had, I think, a total of 8,000 voters in Clinton.
Yes.
So it would have been a zoo. It would have been what it was the previous election year when it was, around the building. So, I
remember that.
Right. So, I think, the early voting is it is what it is, right?
Right.
We're going to have it, so let's just, figure it out. I just want to make sure that we're doing voting the right way, and we're not, we're making sure that, obviously we know about other things that happen in other cities throughout the state, and those are things that we need to control and things that we need to discuss and things that we need to fix.
Right.
Because you don't want, you don't want people taking advantage of a system that they've been provided.
Next year's a state election year, correct?
Correct.
Thoughts, feelings about all these people running for governor?
Yeah,
because they've all started to come out of the woodwork.
They all come out of the woodworks, right? Yeah. I think until,
even running against John Larson, they're coming out of the woodwork. It's like, oh my God.
And listen, I think that's great. I think it's great that people want to come out and people want to challenge what's out there. They want to challenge the system. They want to, have a different voice to be heard. And I think it's great. I love it. I love the fact that people want to come out and run. as far as the state level, as far as the governor goes, Governor Lamont hasn't announced whether he is or he's not.
No, he hasn't.
So, I think, once that comes, that'll kind of, take things to where they're going to go at the next step. On our side, it is what it is. The more people, I think, is the more voices we hear from people, the better it is. I think it gives the people different voices, different opportunities for people that they would like to support. So, at this time, Aaron Stewart, we have Jen Topper, who's the first selectwoman in Westport.
Okay.
Senator Fazio is going to run.
Right.
And on their side, I think, Josh Elliott, I guess, has put his name out there so far.
Yep.
And I think it's great. I think it's great that you do it. And I think for any party, I think at the end of the day, they want to come to a conclusion prior to having a primary, right? And having one person that you support. And I think that's also important for a party, is to have, your candidate be the one that your party is fully endorsing, because if you don't, then it looks like you have a division within your party, and that's never a good thing either. So, but I like the fact that people are getting out, and if they feel that they want to challenge and they want to make sure that they think that they're going to have a voice, then I think that's wonderful.
Cool. Chris Aniskovich, we're out of time, but thanks for some time.
Thanks, Peter.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. On behalf of Chris Aniskovich, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks. Good night. We'll see you next week.